With WWE announcing that Paul Heyman will be taking over a new backstage role over on Raw, many are wondering what could Paul E dangerously do better than Vincent Kennedy. And even though McMahon will probably end up putting the kibosh on everything, just like he always does, there are still definitely reasons why it's best to be a Paul Heyman guy. So without further ado, here are 7 things that Paul Heyman can book better than Vince McMahon. The Extreme. WWE has never done the whole gratuitous violence thing as well as Extreme Championship Wrestling. Sure, WWE has put on some truly amazing extreme matches before, but more times than not, your average hardcore match over on Monday Night Raw is just a cookie sheet slap session or a glorified food fight. If you're gonna go to the extreme, then you better go to the extreme. Don't even bother if you're just gonna end up phoning it in. Extreme is not something that you can water down because, as everyone already knows, there ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. Tag team back again. Despite some greats, Vinnie Mac isn't known for having solid tag team booking. Sometimes he'll have a great tag team division, and other times the tag champs are just some hodgepodge duo slapped together at the last minute. And even when WWE does manage to have a solid tag team, oftentimes fans are just waiting for Vince to go ahead and break them up. But that's not necessarily so with ECW. Sure, Paul Heyman may have employed some of these tactics in from time to time, but for the most part, tag teams have always had solid representation in Extreme Championship Wrestling. From the Dudley Boys to the Impact players to the Eliminators, Heyman always knew how to make tag teams an exciting part of a roster and not just a mere afterthought. Why so serious? In WWE, a lot of humorous acts can divide fans while others just plain fall flat. However, this was not so for ECW. Heyman knew how to strike the exact right balance, and he knew the sensibilities of his audience, with the Blue World Order, Amish Roadkill, and Joel Gertner all being capable of putting fans into hysterics. WWE even managed to fail with the humor of the FBI after they acquired them. Under Paul Heyman, the gag was pretty obvious, with the team calling themselves the Full-Blooded Italians. Meanwhile, it was pretty clear to the audience that that was intentionally inaccurate. But in WWE, they simply turned the group into a stable of ethnic stereotypes. More proof that Paul E gets the jokes that just go right over Vince McMahon's head. New talent. When it comes to discovering new talent, it's hard to find someone better than Paul Heyman. ECW was a promotion for young wrestlers to cut their teeth, which is not surprising since Heyman has always had a great eye for talent. And even when his locker room gets raided, Heyman would just introduce new talent to the Extreme brand, bringing in Lucha Libre wrestlers like Rey Mysterio and Psychosis, or featuring Japanese talents like Hayabusa or Masato Tanaka. Meanwhile, lately, WWE's developmental system has mostly been home to veterans of the industry. CM Punk once said that Paul Heyman saw something in him, which is also true for a lot of other wrestlers too. And let's also remember that it was Paul Heyman and not Vince McMahon who first scored Kurt Angle. Mature audiences. Without a doubt, Vince McMahon does a better job promoting wrestling to children than anyone else, but when it comes to catering his product towards grown-ups, Heyman definitely takes the advantage. While the Attitude Era was of course very successful with adults, remember it took a lot of its cues from ECW, and they say that imitation is the best form of flattery. Undesirables. Something else that almost goes without saying is that Paul Heyman is on point when it comes to working with talent that other companies just won't touch, and finding a way to showcase them in the best possible light. Heyman just has a way of bringing out the very best in people. Just look at wrestlers like Steve Austin, who Bischoff couldn't figure out how to use, or Chris Candido, who was just wasted by Vince. In the end, Paul Heyman might not just be better at this than McMahon, he might be better than anyone, period. Shoestring budget. Lastly, no one could do more with less than Paul Heyman. Whether it was filming promos in Mom's basement, having people working double duty wrestling and answering phones, or making grungy and dingy look like a stylistic choice rather than a lack of options, Paul E proves that you don't need a lot of money to produce great wrestling. And with WWE being a billion-dollar company, Vince almost has no excuse as to why he's not doing a whole lot better. Now, Paul Heyman is in no way, shape, or form the businessman that Vince McMahon is. But if you want a guy who will maximize every single cent and produce top-tier results, then Paul Heyman is definitely the guy to call. Well, there you have it, 7 things that Paul Heyman can book better than Vince McMahon, and I'm not just talking about the ECW brand either. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up as it really helps out the channel, as well as subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, Dave knows.